What's happening YouTube? This is Champion 2D Rob back again with another video, and I thought this time I'm going to do my Mega Drive collection. This is going to be part one. This is going to be part one of my black box Mega Drive collection set. This is also going to feature my EA games as well. The reason why I separate them into categories is mostly down to the presentation of the box. So I'm going to be starting with my EA games, then I'm going to move on to my first set of black box games, and then so forth and so forth, and then we'll eventually move on to blue box games, and then we'll cap it all off in future videos with my miscellaneous Japanese and American games as well. So let's get right into it, guys. I should just say, just before we get into it, very quickly, the last time I did a collection video for my Mega Drive was way back in 2013, so this is like long overdue. So yeah, let's just get right into it, get started. Okay, first lot we've got here. So first game we've got is FIFA International Soccer. This is my original copy from when I was a kid. It's the one and only FIFA game I bought. I wouldn't buy another one until the PlayStation 1 era. But I have to admit though, when I actually had this game, I played it a lot. Like I played this one so much. It was a fun game at the time. In fact, I have very fond memories of playing this game one summer. I think it might have been the summer of '93, and I played it like consistently for weeks. Man, I was really into this game. It was so much fun. I think this might be the only sports game in my collection as well. I'm not really into sports games, but generally speaking, they are fun. This one was fun for me. So yeah, I really loved it. Where should I put it? Let's put it over here. Okay, so the next set of games I've got here, guys, are the strike games. So I've got Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, and of course Urban Strike. Now, these games, I just love them. For me, I know they did come out on the Super Nintendo as well, but for me, they will always be Mega Drive staples. Absolutely fantastic titles for the Mega Drive. They play great. They're challenging. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like I was no good at these games. Honestly, I wouldn't get very far in them, but I just enjoyed them. I enjoyed them for what they were. If you don't know, these games are basically sort of isometric helicopter action sort of title. So essentially you sort of go around and you have to rescue people as well as blow up buildings and blow up vehicles and stuff and do escort missions and all sorts. They're so much fun, they really are. Definitely for me was a staple of the series. The one I probably played the most as a kid was a Desert Strike. I spent the most with this one, and I absolutely loved it back in the day. I never owned it as a kid, but I had loads of friends that did, so I did get to play this one quite a lot, and it was fantastic. I did also get to play Jungle Strike as a kid as well, but I didn't spend that much time with it. But I do admit it actually is a better game than Desert Strike. And as far as Urban Strike goes, I never owned it as a kid, never played it as a kid, but it's pretty much more of the same, and it's a fantastic game as well. So yeah, really chuffed with that as well. Let's put those over here. Next games I've got here, another classic staples of the Mega Drive, and that is the Road Rash games. So, you know, I've got the first one, of course. Spent a lot of time with this one as a kid. In fact, this was the one I owned as a kid. Just fantastic, absolutely awesome racing, action, combat game. Loved it to bits. But of course, it's not better than the second one, which in my opinion is the best one. This one had added 2-player co-op, which me and my mate used to spend a lot of time playing, and they just did everything better in this game, and I love it to this day. For me, this is like what Streets Rage 2 is to me. Like, this is the best one in the series in my opinion. And of course, I have Road Rash 3. This is a title that I actually never got to play as a kid. I actually bought this when I started collecting. I haven't actually spent that much time with this game, to be perfectly honest with you. It is good though, it is fun. But like I say, I haven't really spent too much time with this one compared to the others, so I can't really give my thoughts on it too much. But it is a good game. It is a good game. They didn't really change too much in it. They just sort of improved the graphics and whatnot. I think they added more details to it as well, but I'm not too sure because it's been a while since I've played it. Okay, last EA game I think is Blades of Vengeance. Now this is actually a title that I knew nothing about until I became a collector, and it's a really fun side-scrolling action platformer. I can't remember where I found out about this game. I think it might have been on a YouTube video or something. Probably it was. But it is a really fun game, and I'm actually glad that I managed to pick this one up before it shot up in price. Yeah, I got this for a pretty reasonable price actually. I think for less than 20 quid, but it's since gone up. But yeah, it's a really good game. It's a really fun action platformer type game. Okay, now I think we're done now with the EA set as far as I know. Might show up, more might come up, I'm not too sure. There's a bit of a mess here. You can't see it, but there's games all over. Anyway, moving on now into the black box set. So I'm going to start with two titles here. And that is Golden Axe and Golden Axe 2. Now, if you've seen my last pickups video, you know that I just picked these games up. I actually, as a kid, I never really spent much time with the Golden Axe series. I did play quite a bit of Golden Axe 1. I think I did play Golden Axe 2 as well, but I didn't really spend much time with them as a kid. But I know I did play them as a kid, but just didn't have a lot of play time with them. They're not really my favourite sort of side-scrolling beat-em-ups that I've ever played. I mean, I'm a big side-scrolling beat-em-up fan. But these games, for me, they're cool. I enjoy them. But I don't know, they just don't quite grab me compared to, say, the Streets of Rage series and other beat-em-ups as well. But I will say this, that the Double Dragon, am I going to say? The Golden Axe game in the arcades, Revenge of Death Adder, that game is one of my favourite beat-em-ups. I love that game. But these ones, the console ones, just they're okay, they're fun, but I don't enjoy them as much. Next games I have here is Strider and Strider 2. And do I need to talk about Strider much? It is a classic game. It's a classic Capcom Sega game. Really, really good title. And Strider 2 is considered now it's considered to be a bit of a black sheep. I personally think it's alright. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I mean, it's not as good as Strider 1, but I think it's fine. It's okay. It's a bit more platformy than the original Strider. Strider was mostly sort of based on forward momentum action, whereas this one is you kind of have to work a bit slower, which I guess is why people don't like it as much, because it kind of goes against what Strider is really about. But ultimately, it's a fun game, and I'm glad to have them both. Next couple of games here: Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2. You know, I love these games. I love them to death, both of them. Streets of Rage 2 is my all-time favourite game. Play it all the time. I've played it for over 25 years. I never get bored of it. I love them both. I love them. Best beat-em-ups around. In terms of console gaming, I just love them to bits. So yeah, get them, guys. If you don't have them, if you've never played them, make sure you do, especially the second one, because it's fantastic. They're both classics. Next up, I have here are the Shinobi games. So let's start with Revenge of Shinobi. This is another recent addition, and I have to say my least favourite of the Shinobi games on the Megadrive. I know a lot of people love this game, but even though I did play this game as a kid, I never really clicked with it that much. It is a really good game though, don't get me wrong, but I do think it's sort of the weakest in the series. Then of course you have Shadow Dancer. Now this is actually a title I did own as a kid and I absolutely loved it. It's very different from the other two Shinobi games. It's probably why it's called Shadow Dancer Secret of Shinobi as opposed to Shinobi and then a number, because it does play a little bit different. It's much more arcadey, and that's because it is based on an arcade game. But I loved this game as a kid and I still love this game today. In fact, this is my favourite Shinobi game. I just love the arcadey nature of it as opposed to the console games. It's a fantastic title, and I definitely recommend this one. And then, of course, you've got the fantastic Shinobi 3. I never played this game as a kid. I bought this as a collector. I played it for the first time as an adult, and it's fantastic. The presentation in this game is amazing. They really did improve it compared to, say, Revenge of Shinobi. It's a fantastic action side scroller. If you like action side scrollers, this is definitely one of the best on the Mega Drive. So yeah. Moving on. Let's see here. Okay, next stack I've got here, and these are my black box Konami games. So the first one we're going to start with is Tiny Toon Adventures. Now I'm going to say that a lot of people are sleeping on this game, man. This is a really good platformer. Definitely check it out, guys. It's not an expensive one as far as I know. I mean, it's been a while since I picked up my copy, but it's definitely a really fun platform game with a lot of charm to it, and I definitely recommend people check out this game. Don't ignore this one because it's really well made. It's a really fun game. So yeah, fantastic. Okay, next game I have here is Zombies, and this is one game. This is my original game that I had as a kid. Really fun game, top-down action game. Just so much fun. I mean, probably most of you are aware of Zombies. Just a really fun game. You got 2-player co-op on it as well. So many levels. Yeah, just great top-down run and gun action, and it's a lot of fun. Next one I've got here is the amazing Castlevania: The New Generations, also known as Castlevania Bloodlines. Yeah, an underrated Castlevania game. So much fun. I love this game. I mean, as you would expect from a Castlevania game, it is challenging, but the music is awesome. You've got 2 characters to choose. The level design is excellent. I mean, this is one of those games where Konami sort of really didn't know how to use the Mega Drive to its strengths, and it's so much fun to play. I'm actually kind of gutted I never had this as a kid. I remember seeing it as a kid, like in the shops and stuff, but for whatever crazy reason, I just never bought it. So, but I'm glad I have it now. It's an amazing game, guys. Play this game any way you can because it's fantastic. Next game I have here is Sunset Riders, and this is another great title. Probably not the best version of Sunset Riders, admittedly. I think the Super Nintendo is better. The only thing that lets the Super Nintendo version down is that it's hampered by being censored, whereas this one is not as censored. But this is a cut down version of the original arcade game, and the Super Nintendo game is a lot closer to the arcade game for the most part. So it's kind of a trade-off, really. I mean, while this one isn't as censored as the SNES version, it is more cut down than the SNES version. So it's really up to you which version to get. But it is a lot of fun. It's a really cool run and gun shooter from Konami. Just very fun game. I think for me, where this game, despite being quite an inferior port, it still shines in the gameplay, and that's what matters to me. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I have it. And the next games I've got here are Rocket Knight Adventures and Sparkstar, the sequel. And these are fantastic action platformers, but they are very tough, I will admit. Rocket Knight does use a rocket pack, which you use to charge up and sort of you charge yourself across the screen and stuff, and it's quite tricky to control. And I will admit I do struggle with the controls in the game, but it's definitely very fun. But it is a challenge. But I think it's definitely some of the best platformers on the Mega Drive, hands down. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. Let's try some. Okay, so next one I've got here is XMen. Again, this is another game I had as a kid, and I have to admit that this game is really quite difficult. I mean, yeah, it's also quite confusing. You do get to a point in the game where you have to pull off a weird trick with your system in order to progress. Was it something to do with the reset button? I think you get to I think you're on like Mojo's level, which I think is like the 3rd level. and you get stuck, and then you have to do something where you have to reset the system or something like that. It is really, for its time, it was definitely ahead of its time in terms of the sort of gimmicks and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't see anything like this again until Metal Gear Solid came out on PS1, it was just a bit unconventional. But I do remember this game being extremely hard though. But I did enjoy it. I did play it quite a bit, but I did think it was tough. Next one I have here is Batman. And Batman is a game that honestly never spent too much time with. It's an action side scroller, but I actually never played this one that much, to be honest with you. It's okay. It's okay. I think I played it and I sort of thought it was all right. I don't know. I thought the gameplay was a bit stiff. It's definitely not my favorite of the Batman games. I think the NES Batman game is way better than this one. But it's still it's an okay game. But I just, personally I didn't think it was anything special. Right, moving on. Let's see here. A few more titles. I've got Predator 2. This game, I remember seeing this game in the shop so many times as a kid, and I always kind of just bummed it off as being a cheap sort of licensed cash-in. But this game was actually really good. When I bought it when I started collecting and I decided to pick this one up, I was actually very pleasantly surprised by how good this game is. It's essentially like a top-down run and gun game, and I found it really to be a lot of fun. And I'm surprised. I think if I'd had this game as a kid, I would have really enjoyed it, because I'm a big fan of Predator, and Predator 2 was actually the very first Predator film I watched, and I loved that film. Like I've seen that film so many times, it's not even funny, and in multiple languages as well. That's how far I've gone with this film. But the game itself is a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it. Like don't just ignore this game because you think it's a cheap tie-in. It is actually a very good game. Next one I have here is Empire of Steel. This is a really fun shooter in my opinion. It's a horizontal shooter, and you can play as like a sort of like a, what do they call, like a blimp, one of those what are they called? A blimp. You know, those big hot balloons that carry people. I forgot what it's called, but it's fun, and I think you can also play as a plane as well. But it's a fun shooter. I like the sort of steampunk world that they have in this game, because I think for me, because there are so many sort of shoot 'em ups that kind of play the same for the most part. So for me, the appeal is just how different they look from each other, and I think if they come in with like an interesting angle, like that's what makes me interested in the game. So, but it's definitely a fun one as well. I also believe it got a Game Boy Advance port. Yeah, just mentioning that. Next one I have here is Arrow Flash, and this is another horizontal shooter. Quite a basic shooter, but it's got quite a cool twist where your spaceship can also turn into a robot. Now I know that's not very original nowadays, because there are many games that are like that, but I think at the time it wasn't that much of it was a pretty original idea. And while it's still very basic, like a very early sort of game, but it's still fun, and yeah, it works. All right. Next game's here. I've got Cool Spot. This is a title that I had as a kid. At the time, this game was visually amazing. I mean, the graphics in this game were pretty top notch for its day. And I enjoyed it. It's a fun sort of platformer game. Nowadays, though, I mean, it still looks nice, but I feel that the gameplay doesn't hold up. The level design doesn't hold up. It's pretty bland in my opinion, and I think that's probably why a lot of people don't talk about it today. But at the time, I felt it was okay. It was a fun little diversion, but there were definitely much better platformers on the Megadrive. Next one I have here is World of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse. And again, this is another title I had as a kid. This is my original copy. I loved this game. I mean, despite being a very easy game, it was so much fun, because you could also do 2-player co-op in this game. And what's really cool about it is that if you play single player or you play co-op, you opt to play co-op, the level layouts change, because if you play co-op, you and your friend need to work together to get past certain obstacles. So like the level layouts do change depending whether you play single player or co-op. So this does have a lot of replay value, and like I say, it's not the most challenging game in the world, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of charm to this game, and I really do love it. It's a fantastic title, and if you are going to get into Mega Drive collecting, you need it. Next one I have here, and that is Zero Wing. This is a very recent addition to my Mega Drive collection. So I never played this game as a kid. I've only played it a little bit since I bought it. And yeah, it's another one of those early horizontal shooters. Probably most famous for its bad English dialogue. This was really terribly translated into English. But it's hilarious. I think that's what gives it its charm, I think, in my opinion. But ultimately, it's a fun sort of very basic sort of shooter. Okay, next couple of games I've got here is Alien Storm. Now this is a title that I did have as a kid, and I actually I traded it in. I traded it away. I don't know why, because this game is actually a lot of fun. It's a great action side scroller, beat 'em up sort of game, or shoot 'em up. Really arcadey, just a lot of fun. You do have you got 2-player co-op on this game. It's a great game, honestly. And is this game on the Mega Drive Mini? I can't remember. If it is, play it. But if not, like it's definitely one to check out, and definitely one you want to add to your Mega Drive collection. And next game I have here is the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist, and this is a reworked version of Turtles in Time from the Super Nintendo. And it's a fantastic game, really is. I do enjoy this game. Do I prefer Turtles in Time to this? I think I do, but ultimately this is still a very, very fun game. Again, one of those titles that I completely missed out on as a kid back in the day. I have no idea why. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up. That's like my favorite genre. It's Turtles. I used to love the Turtles as a kid, but yet for some reason I never bought this game, which was a big mistake in my part. But glad to have it now. It's fantastic. You definitely need to play this if you have a Mega Drive. Okay, next two games I've got here is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. And this is actually a game that I never really played as a kid. Of course, I wanted the game because it's a Michael Jackson game. I mean, like, you know, it's one of those unique titles. I don't think it's as good as the Moonwalker arcade game. That one I actually played quite a bit. I do love that game. This one is cool though. It's a cool action side scroller, sort of beat 'em up game. And of course, it's Michael Jackson, so you've got kind of the moves, the music is in there as well. It's very, very cool, and yeah, it's a great sort of interesting novelty game. And next one I have here is X Mutants. I'll be honest, never played it. I bought this game in a bundle, thought it looked interesting, so I decided to keep it. But I've yet to play it. I know it's a platformer action side scroller game, but I've heard it's average. I've seen reviews on it. It's a pretty average game, but I just never got around to playing it. Okay, last three games we've got here is James Bond 007 The Duel. This game was actually gifted to me by J Cybersnake7, so thank you very much, mate. It's pretty much it's like an action side scroller game. It's cool. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's cool. It's a cool action title. Worth a check out if you've got like an emulator or something. Next title I have here is Mystic Defender. This is one title that I never heard of from when I was a kid, but it is a lot of fun. Kind of reminds me of Alicia Dragoon. Has that kind of vibe to it, but it's a cool game. It's definitely a cool game. Not one that many people bring up, but yeah, it's cool. And lastly, I have here is Tracy. fun game. It is a fun game. This game is actually a lot better than I expected it to be. It's in essence a side-scrolling shooter game, but it's simple, but it's fun and it works really well. So if you like to sort of like action side-scroller shooters, definitely one to pick up. Okay, guys, so that's it for part 1. There's going to be a part 2 where I'll show you the rest of my black box games as well. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and of course, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you at the next one. Bye bye.